Once upon a time, there was a bear named Steve. His mother called him Steven, and he hated that. He was Steve down to the very bones. But he didn't have to worry about being called Steven anymore, because Steve lived on his own now. He had found himself a nice little cave in the middle of a nice little forest, and it was perfect for him. No one called him Steven. No one told him to clean up his cave. It was terrific. He could just hang around being lazy all day. It was terrific. He'd been so sick and tired of being bossed around, being told what to do, but now he just got to be Steve all day. All day. Unfortunately, one morning, Steve awoke to a very unpleasant surprise. It was someone yelling. It sounded like a person. It sounded like a bunch of people. He left his cave and he peered over a ridge. And just over a little hill was a tour group. There was a bunch of tourists coming through his forest. And a tour guide yelling and holding up a flag and such. Now this did not work for Steve at all. He had one requirement for his perfect home, which was to be left alone. And it was going great until these guys showed up. Leader of the tour group in some dorky uniform. Everyone taking pictures on their little nature trail. Not good. So Steve figured that he would have to devise a plan to change all of this. He thought about mauling them to death, but that just sounded like so much work. It wasn't really Steve's whole bag, you know? The point is, Steve had ruled out murder. Not for moral reasons so much as caloric. He thought about pulling some kind of paranormal activity, or of course paranormal activity, which is what he called it on his whiteboard when he was working on different plans, to, convince them in some kind of Scooby-Doo way that the forest was haunted. He briefly considered assembling an army of monarch butterflies. But that is the point in the plan making where Steve realized he hadn't eaten anything in a long time and he was starting to get delirious. So he decided he was tired of this. He was just going to take a nap. And as he slept, Steve, as he did from time to time, dreamed. And in his dream, he saw his mother. And his mother said, "Stephen," and Dream Steve cringed. He cringed so hard that even real Steve, in his cave, his whole body cringed in his sleep. But his mother kept talking. He said, "Stephen, I didn't raise you to be nasty to someone just because you don't like what they're doing. I didn't raise you to be mean and scary. I raised you to be a good bear that does bear things. And you were never great at bear things, but you've always been very good. Do the right thing, Steve. It's time for you to grow up a little and be a mature, responsible bear, whatever that looks like for you." And Steve woke up in a cold sweat. Do bears sweat? He woke up in a cold sweat. Chilled not just by the vision of his mother, but also by the threat of maturity and responsibility. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized, well, this is a really nice area. I understand why they want to come around here. There's got to be something else I can do. And that is how, a week later, that same dorky uniform was being worn by Steve as the new tour guide, as he led a quiet tour through the forest and taught the humans how to enjoy nature without making a whole lot of noise and a lot of flashes and a lot of problems. And he taught them so well that the monarch butterflies floated right past them like they weren't even there. Squirrels and birds went about their business like there was no one else in the forest. And Steve really knew that on that day, he had grown up.